Hey, hi everyone. We always receive one common inquiry from professionals who are interested in our SAP Activate Project Management training program. So the question always receive before I enroll, can I see a demo? What exactly are you going to cover in this training? So instead of explaining the same thing individual again and again, I decided to create this detailed demo video and upload it here on this YouTube. If you are interested in moving into the SAP project management or you are thinking to improve your SAP delivery knowledge or understanding SAP Activate from a practical project manager's perspective, you can watch this complete demo and understand exactly how the workshop is structured. We have also mentioned our contact number in the video description. So if after watching this demo, you feel this workshop is relevant for you, or you can directly contact us for any inquiry and enroll in this upcoming batch. Okay, so we conduct two workshop batch every month. So you can check with us for the next available schedule. Apart from these 2 days workshop, we also have detailed SAP project management training option. Okay, for professional who want deeper learning and practical project guidance. I will also explain those options during this demo. And before we start today session, I want to ask you one very practical question. Okay, so suppose tomorrow your organization tell you, okay, you are going to manage an SAP S4 HANA implementation project. So what is the first thought that will come into your mind? Maybe you will think, I know SAP Activate, I know Discover, I know Prepare, I know Explore phase, Realize phase, Deploy and Run, right? So, but is that really enough? Because when you enter a real SAP project, nobody is going to ask you only what are the six phase SAP Activate. That is not a real challenge. The real challenge starts when different people give you different expectation. Okay, so let me give you one example. Suppose the business say we need this requirement and this is the mandatory for us. Okay, and your SAP functional consultant say, hey, standard SAP does not work exactly like this, right? And suppose your developers say, yes, we can build it, but it will require customization. Okay, and might be your architect say, if we customize this, it may be create future maintenance and upgrade challenge. Okay, so and one more person, like very important, and your sponsor also say, so whatever is required, do it. I don't want any delay. So now here you are the SAP project manager. What will you do? Will you immediately improve the customization, or will you tell the business to change their process, or will you ask the technical team to build it? Or will you raise the change request, or will you ask for more budget, or you are planning to ask to escalate it? Or will you first understand why the business actually need this requirement? So this is where real SAP project management start, because as a project manager, your responsibility is not simply to collect everybody's input and forward the email. You need to understand the situation. You need to understand the business impact. You need to understand the project impact. And then you need to bring the right people together for the right decision. Now, let me give you another example. Suppose you are managing an SAP rollout for multiple countries and you have created one global template and everything is moving well, right? And suddenly one country comes and says, hey, our business process is different, we cannot follow the global template. Now, what will you do? Will you allow a country specific process, or will you ask them to follow the global standard? Or what if their requirement is regulatory? Or what if It is only because they have been following the old process for the last 10 years. What if accepting this request then create additional development? And they are thinking we need additional testing, additional integration, additional training, and additional support after go live. Now, can you see the difference? The project manager does not need the does not need to personally configure SAP. You don't need to become an FICO consultant. Also, you don't need to become a web developer. You don't need to become an any integration architect. But you must understand enough to the ask a right question. And this is extremely important. If someone tells you this is the small change, your question should be small from whose perspective? It is small from development perspective, or what about testing? What about integration? What about data? What about security? What about training? What about cutover? What about our future support? Because in a large SAP project, even a small change in one area can create an impact in a multiple area. And this is where many people struggle when they move into SAP project management. And they know the methodology, they know the terminology, they may even have a certification. But when a real situation comes in front of them, they start thinking, what should I ask now? Who should own this? Should I escalate this, or if the actual risk is this scope change, or do I need a decision from the business? Can the project continue, or should we stop and resolve this first? And that is exactly the gap I want to address in this workshop. I don't want this training to become another session where we simply memorize. Like discovery means this, prepare means this, realize and explore, deploy means this. I'm not going to tell the theoretical because you can read those definitions anywhere. My objective is different, and I want you to understand what actually happens inside an SAP S4 HANA project. What kind of problem comes? What kind of pressures comes? How different team we have? Where different dependency we have? Where scope start increasing? Where the project manager need to challenge? And where the project manager need to support the team? Where governance is required and where a decision need to be taken. So throughout this demo, I want you to keep asking yourself one question: and if this situation happen in my project tomorrow, will I know what I do? Not. Have I heard this terminology before? Of course not. Do I know the definition? The question is, can I handle this situation? Because that is what finally makes a difference between knowing SAP Activate and actually being able to manage an SAP transformation. And if you are already working in SAP, or you are planning to move from function consultant, Scrum Master, PMO, or General Management into the SAP Project Manager. So, this is the mindset I want you to build. You don't need to know everything, okay? But you need to know what to ask, what to check, what to challenge, what to escalate, and how to drive this decision. And that is what we are going to focus on. Okay? So let's move for the next slide. Okay. Okay. Before we go into the deeper workshop, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Brijesh Kumar Srivastava. I have more than 16 years of overall IT experience with strong experience in project management, program management, SAP delivery, and S4 HANA implementation environment. I have worked across different industries, and I have handled areas such as stakeholder management, project governance, testing, UAT, cutover, readiness, whatever risk dependency and delivery management. I am also certified in multiple SAP and project management area, including SAP Activate. I am certified SAP S4HANA project management, SAP Scenario, SAP Enterprise Architecture, SAP Cloud ALM, and along with PMP Prince 2 as Scrum Master, I am certified. But more important than the certification, my objective in this workshop is to share the practical project situation and challenge, and that a project manager actually face. So throughout the session, I will try to connect methodology plus real project experience and practical PM decision. And that is the approach I will follow in this workshop. Okay. Now, let me explain why I designed this 2 days workshop. Most people who start learning SAP Activate begin with these 6 phases like discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run. And yes, knowing this phase is important, but this is only the starting point. The real challenge start when you enter and actually SAP S4 HANA project. Because once you enter a real project, nobody is going to ask you only what comes after explore. What is the realize phase? Instead of the question become much more practical. For example, what exactly should the project manager do in each phase? In the discovery, what should you check? In prepare, what should already be ready? During explore, what should be project manager monitor? During realize, what should you track every week? During deploy, what should you validate before go live? And after go live, what should you manage during hypercare? And this is the first gap I want to address because knowing the name of the phase is different from knowing your responsibility. So inside that phase. Now look at the next question if I'm asking who owns which deliverable? This sounds like a simple question, right? But in a large SAP project, the that means this become a very important because suppose a deliverable is delayed. Okay, who is actually accountable? Is the function consultant or is the business process owner or is the technical lead or is the testing lead or is the implementation partner or is that client or is the project manager expected to drive it? If the ownership is not clear, what normally happen? Everybody say, I'm waiting for somebody else and then the project manager become a messenger, right? So we need to understand not only the deliverable, but also the ownership and governance around the deliverable. Now, if suppose down the next question, if I'm thinking, okay, what are the quality gate in each phase? And this is extremely important. A project phase should not be considered complete simply because the planned date has arrived. Suppose Explore is planned to finish this Friday. Can we automatically move to realize on Monday? No. We need to check readiness. Have the important workshop been completed? Are major requirement agreed? Are critical decision closed? Or are gap understood? Or are scope items controlled? Or are integration identify? Or are data requirement understood? And or are key risk visible? That is the purpose of quality gate. A quality gate help us answer. Are we genuinely ready to move forward? Not. Has the calendar date arrived? Now look at the testing. When should SIT or UAT actually start? And this is another area where many projects face problem. A project plan may say SIT start on Monday, but as a project manager, you need to ask is the environment ready or is the test data ready? Are required development deploy or are integration available? Are test case approved? Are tester available? Are blocker resolved? If these things are not ready, then technically SIT may start, but practically the project is not ready for SIT. And the same applies to UAT. UAT should not start just because SIT reached a certain date. You need to understand whether the solution is stable enough for business user to test. Now, if come to a scope, so how do we manage a scope change? right? This is the one of the biggest challenge in SAP project. And during explore, business user may start asking for a change. One team say we need one additional report. Another says we need one enhancement. Another country say our process is different. Another business unit say, hey, standard SAP will not work for us. Individually, every request may look small, but when you combine all of them, suddenly you have additional development, additional testing, additional integration, additional cost, additional timeline, and this is how scope creep happen. So the project manager needs to understand: is this really a gap? Is this mandatory? Is there a standard SAP alternative? What is the business justification? What is the cost impact? What is the schedule impact? Who will approve it? And should it be part of the current release or move to the future phase? Now look at the data migration. What actually happens during the data migration? Right? Many people think data migration means extract the data, transform it, and load it, right? But from a project manager's perspective, that is not enough. You need to understand who own the source data, who is responsible for cleaning, who validate the mapping, who sign off the migrate data, how many mock migration are required, how will reconciliation happen, what happen if balance does not match, what happens if master data is incomplete, what is the feedback plan. So again, you don't need to become a data migration expert, but as a project manager you must understand enough to manage the activity. And now integration. How are the integration dependency managed? This become especially important in a SAP S/4HANA project because SAP normally does not work alone. You may have third-party system banks, right? Like warehouse, MES, CRM, vendor portal, legacy application, tax system, external API, right? Now, one integration can depend on another team also. That team may depend on the infrastructure. Infrastructure might be depend on the security. Security might be depend on the approval. And certainly one interface is holding up an entire end-to-end business process. So the project manager need to know what is the dependency, who own it, what is the target date? What happen if it is delay? What testing is impact? What milestone is impacted? And when should it be escalated? Right? Now, look at the cutover. Right? So, what make a project genuinely ready for cutover? Is it enough that testing is complete? No. We need to look at solution, readiness, data readiness, business readiness, training readiness, security readiness, number of things you need to do the readiness part and the cutover plan itself. Because cutover is where month of project work finally come together. And now the next question, who actually decide go or no go? Many people think the project manager decide. Not always. The project manager's responsibility is to make sure the correct fact, risk, open issue, option and recommendation are available to the correct decision makers. The final go and no go decision may involve the steering committee, the sponsor, business leadership, technology leadership, or another authorized governance body. So the project manager must understand how to prepare the decision properly. And finally, what happened after go live? So many people think system is live, project is finished, but not necessarily. After go live, we enter hypercare. Now, real users are using the system. Real business transaction are happening. Incident start coming. Some issue may be process related, some may be training related, some may be data related, some may be real defect. And so the project manager need to manage incident prioritization, daily trials, ownership, escalation, business communication, support handover, stabilization, and the criteria for existing hypercare. So if you look at this slide carefully, you will understand the real objective of this workshop. And the objective is not simply to teach you the 6 SAP Activate phase. The objective is to give you practical understanding of the complete SAP implementation lifecycle from a project manager's perspective. And that means understanding what happened, who own it, what can go wrong, and what the project manager should check. What questions should be asked, what decision is required, and how you should lead the situation. And throughout this workshop, we will also bring additional value. You will understand the real project flow step by step. You will understand project manager responsibility phase wise. You will see a practical scenario inspired by actual SAP implementation situation, and you will get a visibility into practical tools like template, checklist, and the end you will also receive the completion certificate for the workshop. So the key message from this slide is very simple. Knowing the phase is the starting point, managing what happened inside those phase is the real job. And that is exactly what this workshop is designed to teach. Understood? Next, let's move for the next slide. Okay. Now, let me show you what you are actually going to learn during this 8 hour. I want you to look at the slide as a complete SAP implementation journey from a project manager's perspective. The purpose is not to make you an expert in every SAP model. The purpose is to help you to understand how the complete project connect from the beginning to end. We start with the SAP environment. Before managing an SAP project, you need to understand the ecosystem and who is the client, right? Who is the implementation partner? Who are the functional team? Who own the technical development? Who manage integration? Who own data? Who manage testing? Who is responsible for security? Okay, so because if you don't understand who is responsible for what, very quickly the project manager become a coordinator instead of a leader. And then we move into the SAP Activate methodology. And here we understand the complete framework, not only the 6 phase, but also the difference between SAP and SAP Activate. The three pillar of SAP Activate: phase objective, deliverable, work stream, and quality gate. The objective is to understand how the methodology actually guide the project, and then we move into discover and prepare. And this is where we start building the foundation. And we will talk about business need, project objective, scope, governance, planning, stakeholder structure, project organization, and readiness. Because before the project become busy with configuration and development, we need a clarity. And what exactly are we implementing? Who own the business decision? What is the scope? What is out of scope? How will the project be governed? If these things are not clear early, later they become a scope issue, and delay and escalation of course you will face. Then we enter explore and fit to standard. This is the one of the most important area in SAP S/4HANA implementation, and this is where the business start discussing and its requirement with the SAP team. The SAP team show the standard situation. The business explain how the currently operate, and then the real discussion start. What fish standard SAP, where is the real gap, which requirement is mandatory, which request is only a preference, do we need customization, do we need change request, who approved it. This is also where your backlog start getting created and where scope can easily start increasing. Then we move into realized, build, test, and integrate. Now the project become very dynamic, like configuration is happening, development is happening, interface are being built, testing is starting, okay, defect start coming, team begin depending on each other, right? One team may say they are complete, but another team may still be blocked because of them. So here we understand how a project manager manage like configuration process, development, integration testing, defect, and quality. The important question here is not only how much work is complete. The better question, what exactly is complete? What is still open? And what is the downstream impact? Then we come to the data migration and risk management. Data migration is one of the area that can create major problem if it is not managed properly. We will discuss planning, cleaning, mock migration, reconciliation, validation, ownership, and business sign off. Along with that, we will understand RAID management, risk assumption issue dependency, because almost every major activity in an SAP project carries dependency, and the project managers need to know not only how to capture this item but also how to drive them to closure. Then where we move into deploy, cutover, and go live, and this is one of the most sensitive stage of the project. Everything start coming together: testing readiness, data readiness, business readiness. Okay, and the actual cutover plan. We'll understand how mock cutover works, how the final cutover is controlled, how a command center works, how the go and no go decision should be supported. Okay, and finally, of course, we start run and hypercare. And once the system goes live, the project is not immediately over. The now real user start using the system. Real business volume start falling, incident appear, right? Like defect, business question appear. So we will discuss stabilization, hypercare, governance, handover to support, KPI tracking, and final project closure. So now there is another important part of this workshop. Throughout this complete journey, I will keep connecting every phase with the core project management responsibility. We will continuously look at the scope management. How do you prevent uncontrolled scope growth? What we have: a schedule, rate, governance, testing lifecycle, data management, integration, cutover, go live, stakeholder management, right? So by the end of these 8 hours, I want you walk away with five things. First, a clear understanding of the SAP implementation lifecycle. Second, a practical project manager perspective. Third, exposure to real project scenario. Fourth, visibility into practical tools, template, and checklist. And fifth, more confidence in managing SAP project. Now, I also want to be a very transparent. 8 hour cannot teach you everything about SAP project management. That would not be realistic. But 8 hour can definitely change the way you think about a SAP project. And it can help you stop looking at a SAP Activate only as a six phase and start looking at it as a connected project journey. And that is real objective. Understand the life cycle, understand your role, what you check, what to ask, and most important, understand how to lead an SAP project with more confidence. Okay, now, so let's look at the day one of this workshop. So day one is about one thing: building the right foundation before execution begin. Because in an SAP project, if the foundation is weak, the problem normally appear later during configuration, testing, integration, data migration, or cutover. So before we talk about the execution, okay, day one help you to understand the environment, the methodology, and the early phase from a project manager perspective. And we have divided day one into four focus session. Let's start session one, SAP project environment. Okay. So before we manage an SAP project, you first need to understand the world you are entering. Okay, what is SAP? What is the difference between SAP, ECC, and SAP S/4HANA? How is the SAP ecosystem structure? Who is the client? Who is the implementation partner? What is the role of SAP itself? What are the function consultant? What are the technical team? Who own basis team? These are the things we will cover. Okay, and where exactly does the project manager fit into all of this? Let me ask you one practical question. Suppose on your first day in the project you have 60 people across business, okay, and functional, technical, and vendor team also. Do you need to understand every technical detail? Of course no. But you absolutely need to understand who owns, right? Who depends on whom and where decisions should come from. Otherwise, very quickly the project manager become only a meeting coordinator. Understood? So in session 1, we build that project level understanding, and we will also discuss the typical SAP implementation journey, the role of SAP Project Manager, and the skills and mindset required to manage such an environment. Okay, so the key takeaway is very simple here. You should understand the SAP landscape and know where you fit as the project manager. Right now, session 2, SAP Activate methodology. Here we start understanding the methodology properly. Why did SAP introduce Activate? How is the SAP Activate different from the SAP? What is the three pillar of SAP Activate? What are the six phases? What is the objective of each phases? What are the deliverable? What are the quality gate? And what should be the project manager being doing across the phases? Right? For example, many people know that explore comes before realize, but the real project management question, what must be complete before you allow the project to move from explore into realize? And that is why we talk about quality gate, deliverable, and project manager responsibility across the life cycle. Because methodology should not remain theory. It should help you manage decision. So by the end of session 2, you should understand how SAP Activate provide the structure for implementation and how the project manager use the structure to govern the project. Then we move to session 3, like discover and prepare, and this is where the project foundation become much more concentrate. We talk about business need, business vision, business case, project objective, scope, project charter, governance, team mobilization, initial project planning, rate, environment planning, and stakeholder communication. Now imagine a project where the business say, we want to start immediately, but the scope is still unclear. The project organization is not finalized. Business owners are not confirmed. Governance is weak and environment are not ready. Should the project manager simply say, management want us to start, so let's start? That can create a false progress. Because if the project starts without clarity, later we may face rework, scope dispute, ownership issue, and delay. So, in the discover and prepare, we focus on how to start an SAP project on the right track. You should know that means what need to be clear, what need to be documented, what need to be aligned, what need to be approval, what need to be ownership, and what minimum level of readiness is required before execution becomes serious. So here the key takeaway is the good project does not begin with configuration, it begins with clarity. And then we move into session 4, explore and fit to standard. And this is one of the most important area in day one, because this is where business requirement start meeting the SAP standard solution. During fit to standard workshop, the business explain how they work. The SAP team demonstrate standard process, and then the real discussion start. Does the standard process meet the business need? Is there a genuine gap? Is the requirement mandatory? Is this only a preference? And do we need a customization? Can the business process change? Do we need RISE object? Should this become part of the backlog? And who approve a scope change? This is also where scope creep can start. And one business user asks for one enhancement, another team asks for one report, another country asks for one exception. Everything looks small independently, but together these items can increase cost, timeline, development effort, and testing effort. So in this session, we will look at the requirement gathering, gap analysis, backlog creation, scope changes, solution scope approval, and planning for realize. And I want you to remember one important principle: the project manager does not decide the function solution. But the project manager must control a decision process around scope and impact and approval. And that is the difference during day one. You will also see some very practical management concept and tools, and we will discuss the project charter, high level understanding the purpose of the high level project plan. We will look at the concept of red log, matrix, RASI, standard approach. Okay, this the purpose is not simply to show you template. The purpose is to explain when do I use this, why do I use this, who own it, and how it helps me manage the project. So by the end of day, I want you to achieve three things. First, understand the SAP project foundation. Second, clearly understand your role as a project manager. And third, become ready to understand how the project move into the implementation and execution phase. Because a successful SAP project start with clarity, alignment, and preparation. And the project manager plays as a major role in making sure those three things are in place. Understood? Let me move for the next slide. Okay. So let us come to the day two. If day one is about the building the foundation, day two is about the execution. And this is where the project become much more practical and much more challenging. Because now the solution is being built, testing is happening, data is moving, defects are coming, cutover is getting closer, and finally the system has to go live and stabilize. So day two is divided into four sessions. We start with session 5, realize, build, test, and integrate. This is the where configuration and development are happening. Different work streams are working at the same time. Functional team are configuring, technical team are developing, RISE object, integration team are building interface, testing team are preparing an execution test cycle, and this is where dependencies start becoming very visible. So for example, a developer may say, my development is complete, but testing may say we cannot test because interface is not ready. The integration team may say we are waiting for another external system, so the project manager has to connect all these work streams. So in this session, we will discuss configuration and development sprint execution, RISE object, unit testing, SIT, end-to-end testing, defect management, integration dependency, and release management. So the key question here, how do I know that the solution is actually progressing, not just individual tasks? Because a project can have many activity marked complete and still not be ready for the next milestone, right? Then we move to session 6, data migration, testing and risk. This is the another critical area. Many projects underestimate data migration. But moving data is not simply uploading record into SAP S/4HANA. We need to think about data cleaning, mapping, transformation, mock migration, reconciliation, and validation. Suppose the migration team says the load is successful, but finance say the balance are not matching. Can we say migration is complete? No. Technical success and business acceptance are two different things. We will also discuss the difference between SIT and UAT. What is the purpose of SIT? What is the purpose of UAT? What should be complete before UAT start? What are the UAT readiness criteria? And how should the project manager track risk assumption or issue and dependencies throughout the rate log? We will also discuss escalation management. Because not every problem needs escalation, but if a critical dependency is not getting resolved and it can impact an important milestone, the project manager must know when escalate, whom to escalate to, and what information to bring. Understood? Then we will move into session 7, deploy, cutover, and go live. This is one of the most important part of the workshop because this is where a month of work come together. And now the project has to answer one simple but difficult question. Are we really ready to go live? To answer that, we need more than a date. We need UAT sign up, we need business readiness, we need cutover readiness, we need data readiness, we need production readiness, we need support readiness, and we need a proper go and no go process. We will discuss how cutover planning work, what should be included in a cutover plan, who own each activity, what are the dependency, what is the sequence, what happen if only critical activity fails, why do we conduct mock cutover, and how do we use a go live checklist. And we will also discuss the command center and hypercare plan. Because during go live, communication and decision making must be fast and structured. The key takeaway from this session is a successful go live is not luck. Okay, it is preparation, readiness, and control execution. And then finally, we move into the session 8, run and hypercare. Once the system goes live, the work is not over. Now the real user are in the system and real business transactions are happening. Real issues start appearing. So we need a proper hypercare model. We will discuss incident management, problem management, how to prioritize issue, how to track KPI, how to report stabilization status, how to hand over to AMS or support team, how benefit realization can be monitored, and finally how the project is formally closed. We will also discuss lesson learned and documentation handover because a project should not simply disappear after go live. There should be a structured transition from a project mode to support mode. So during day two, you will also see practical tools and concept. We will look at the test plan and script, data management template, RAID log, cutover checklist, command center setup, KPI dashboard, and our handover document. Again, the objective is not only to show you a template, the objective is to help you to understand when do I use it, why do I use it, who owns it, what decision does it support. So by the end of day two, you should understand how to manage build, testing, and integration more effectively. So you should understand how to move data safely and validate it properly. You should understand how to prepare and execute cutover. You should understand how to support the go and no go decision, or you should understand how to stabilize the solution after go live and transition it smoothly to support. And I want you to remember one line from this slide again. It is not about completing tasks, it is about making the right decision at the right time. And that is what makes a strong SAP project manager. Okay. Now, this slide is very important because this is where you can see how we exactly uh, teach. We don't want to only explain concept. Okay. Uh, we want to put you into a real project situation and ask, you are the project manager and what will you do now? Right. So our approach is very simple: scenario, decision, and PM action. That means first we understand the real situation, then we identify what decision need to be taken, and finally we discuss what the project manager should actually do. Okay. So let me show you for example. Okay. First, scenario one, discover. Imagine the client say we need to start immediately and we are already behind schedule. But when you look deeper, you find that the scope is still unclear. The business case is incomplete, and different sponsors have a different expectation. Now, the question is not how quickly can we start. The real question is, do we have enough clarity to start correctly? As a project manager, you need to ask, is the business case approved? Is the scope understood? Are stakeholders aligned? Or do we all agree on what success actually means? Your PM action is to facilitate discovery discussion, validate and business case and scope align, stakeholder and establish a clear direction. So here the key takeaway: a stronger start prevent costly rework later. Right? Now, scenario 2. Let's talk about explore. Okay. Now imagine you are in explore during fit to standard workshop and the business start asking for mini custom development. Our team want an enhancement. Another want a custom report. Another country want a special process. And user expect the new SAP system to behave exactly like the old one. Now, as the project manager, can you simply say no customization allowed? No, but you can. But can you also say business ask for it? So let us build everything. Again, no. You need to ask: is this really gap? Can understand SAP support the business outcome? What is the business justification? What is the impact on cost? What is the impact on schedule? What is the impact on architecture? So your PM action is to drive fit to standard workshop. Use a clear decision process for a standard versus custom and manage a scope through governance. The takeaway is very balancing. That means if your balanced business need with standardization and business value. Okay. Now, scenario 3, realize. Now suppose SIT has already started, but problems are increasing. Some interface are incomplete, test data is not ready, critical defects are increasing, and the business is saying, do not stop testing. Continue, because we cannot move the timeline. Now, you are the project manager. What will you do? Will you continue simply because the business is pushing? Or will you first check whether the testing is still meaningful? You need to ask which interface are incomplete, which scenario are blocked, is the test data is issue minor or critical, how many high severity defect are open, are we actually testing the integration solution, or we only execution whatever test case are available to improve the completion percentage. Then you make the decision: you should testing continue, should certain stream pause, should root cause be fixed first, what is the impact of the on the timeline. Your PM action is to access readiness against exit and entry criteria, align with the testing lead and business, fix root cause and replan if required. So here the takeaway is quality today, save time and stress at go live. Now, next scenario we have, now imagine deploy. Now imagine we are 2 weeks before go live and the date is already communicated. Management is watching, business users are preparing, but migration reconciliation is incomplete. Critical UAT defect still remain and business readiness is uncertain. Now the steering committee asks, are we ready to go live? What will you do? This is the where pressure can become very high. One group may say we must go live because the date is committed. Other may say we should delay because there are still open issue. But as a project manager, you should not make this decision based on pressure. You need fact. You need to evaluate. Are critical business process working? Which defects are still open? Can those defects be accepted? Who accept the risk? Is migration reconciled or are critical integration stable? Is the business ready? Is the cutover plan ready? Is support ready? What is the impact of going ahead? And what is the impact of delaying? Then the right governance body takes the decision. Your PM action is to run the go and no go checklist. Evaluate risk and mitigation. Take the decision through the steering committee and communicate clearly. The takeaway is confident decision comes from the preparation, not pressure. Okay, so and this is a teaching approach we follow throughout the workshop. We don't only tell you the discover, explore, realize, deploy, and run. Instead, we continuously ask what is happening, what decision is required, what should the project manager, right? So because real projects are not perfect. Plan change, people disagree, might be dependency appear, okay, risk will increase. So management create a pressure, and sometimes you need to make a decision even when you don't need have a perfect information. And that is why this workshop focus on helping you. So think through real situation, make better decision, and take the right PM action. Manage risk, scope, quality, and timeline, and lead the team with more confidence. So the key message from this slide: a real project management is only about the following a plan. It is about making uh, a better decision on uncertain situation. Okay, so that is exactly what a project manager expected to do. Now, so I want to get the right expectation. Okay, before we go further, this 8-hour workshop is designed to give you a practical introduction to the complete SAP implementation life cycle from a project manager's perspective. It is not designed to make you an expert in every SAP business process in 8 hours. That would not be realistic. What you will get in these 8 hours is a structured understanding on the full journey. Okay, you will understand the SAP Activate lifecycle end to end. You will understand what the project manager is expected to do the phase by phase. You will understand the major project activity. You will understand governance and quality gate. You will understand the rate concept, risk assumption issue, right? And dependency. You will understand the testing lifecycle, including SIT, UAT, and readiness. Okay, so these are the things you will understand. So the objective is to build a strong map in your mind, a map of how a SAP implementation actually flow from beginning to end. Now, at the same time, I also want to be very clear about what this workshop is not in 8 hours. We cannot go deeply into every complex manufacturing process. We cannot deeply cover every procure to pay scenario, order to cash scenario, plan to procure, number of record to report scenario, okay, complexity. We cannot deeply cover every possible integration failure, every complication data migration scenario, okay. So because this kind of situation require more than methodology knowledge, and they require business context, right, project experience, and sometimes very specific personalized guidance. So I want to think about this workshop in a very simple way. This workshop is the map, okay. It show you the complete SAP implementation journey. It helps you to understand where you are, what comes next, and what is the project manager should be thinking about the each phase, okay. But deeper learning and one-to-one mentoring is like having a guide with you, okay. A guide help you to navigate difficult situation, understand the specific project challenge, and decide what to do based on the real actual business context. And that is a different level of learning, and both are useful. First, you need to understand the journey, then you can go deeper into the challenge. So my promise for the 8-hour workshop is simple. I want to give you clarity, confidence, and a strong foundation. I want you to leave the workshop understanding how SAP implementation fit together. I want to understand how the thing through real project situation, how to make better decision, how to take the right PM action, how to manage risk, scope, quality, and timeline. Okay, but I do not want to make an unrealistic promise that 8 hour will make someone a complete SAP project management expert. Okay. Uh, okay. So expertise come from continuous learning, practice, and real project exposure. So remember this line: 8 hour workshop give you clarity, continuous learning give you mastery. Right. So first objective is to understand the journey properly. Then, as your experience grow, you become a better at handling the difficult situation inside that, and the journey that the eight that means right expectation from this workshop. Understood? Now, okay. So I want to talk about one more option here, especially for a professional who feel I understand SAP Activate, but when a real project problem comes, I'm still not sure what to do, right? So the situation is very common. So because understanding the methodology is one thing, applying it to your own project, to your own industries, your own stakeholder, and your own challenge is completely different. And that is where the personalized one-to-one mentoring also come in. Okay, I also want to make one point very clear. This is a separate personalized mentoring offering. It is not part of the 2 days workshop. The 2 days workshop give you the overall map, and the one-to-one mentoring helps you go deeper into the exact challenge you are facing. For example, maybe you are already working as a SAP project manager, maybe you are a PMO delivery lead, maybe you are a function technical consultant planning, to move into the project manager role. So, or maybe you have already joined SAP project and how you are struggling with real project situation. So in one-to-one mentoring, we can start from your project context. Which industries are you working in? Which SAP solution are you using? Which phase is your project currently? What business process are involved? So these are the things, okay? So, for example, a manufacturing implementation will have a different challenge compared with a banking or retail implementation, okay? And global rollout will have a different challenge compared with a single country implementation, okay? A project in Explore will have a different problem compared with a project that is 2 weeks away from go live. So, the first we understand your situation, then we go deeper into the project execution and control. Okay, so for example, how are you pre-documented structure? How are you managing your rate log? How are you risk being tracked? How is governance working? Okay, so these type of things we'll discuss, and then we can also work on areas such as cutover, hypercare, stakeholder escalation, that all kind of things. Okay, so suppose you have a real escalation tomorrow, you want to understand how should I present this senior management, what fact should I bring, what option should I provide, what should I recommend, okay? Or maybe you have an interview for SAP Project Manager role, you want to prepare using real scenario rather than only definition. So that is the kind of personalized support this mentoring is designed for. Okay, now the right side you can see different learning path. We have 30-hour certification fast track. This is a mainly for someone who want to build a strong SAP Activate foundation and prepare certification. Then there is a 45 professional practitioner path. How here we go deeper into deliverable governance, real project document and practical project flow. Then there is a 65-hour implementation specialist path, and finally there is a 80-hour enterprise PM expert path. So this is for people who want broader exposure to enterprise program management, leadership, PMO transformation, and advanced project thinking. So the implement that means you can initiate, you can start here. Okay, so the important point is that this path are available as a personalized one-to-one training also. So the pace can be adjusted. So example, that means the focus can be adjusted, your the learning can be aligned to the person actual goal. Okay, so that is why one-to-one work also well for professional who need more than standard classroom approach. Okay, so you get flexible scheduling, okay, personalized mentoring, customized learning pace, individual about clearing, and where needed dedicated interview preparation. So if I put the difference in one simple line, so the 8-hour workshop give you the map, one-to-one mentoring help you to navigate the difficult part of the journey, and the workshop give you a clarity about the full life cycle. So the personalized mentoring help you apply that understanding to real project challenge, real decision, and your own career goal. Okay, so if you feel that you need more than theory and you want practical guidance around your own SAP project situation, this is the deeper option available. Okay, now let's talk about the most important question. After spending this 8 hours with us, what exactly will you take back? Because training is useful only when you can apply it in your real project. The objective of this workshop is not only to increase your knowledge, the objective is to help you move from learning to leadership. and you will gain an end-to-end understanding of the SAP, right? Of course, SAP implementations, lifecycle using SAP Activate. So you will understand how the phase connected. You will understand what a project manager is expected to do each phase. You will understand how to use methodology tools and best practice more practically. You will also understand how make better decision at the right time. For example, when a risk appear, you should know what to do. When scope start changing, you should know how to control it. When a stakeholder is not aligned, you should know how to manage the conversion. When a dependency impact the plan, you should know how to identify the owner and drive the action. So the learning is not only about theory, it is about how to apply that theory another project implementation. Okay, so we will give you visibility into items such as project charter, high level project plan, read log, all those things. Okay, so the value is understanding when should I use it, what should I put inside it, who should contribute, who should approve it, and what decision it helps. Okay, so that is a practical perspective. Now let us come to the growth. As a project manager should not remain only a task manager. Your responsibility is not simply to ask if is this task complete, is this action closed, can you update the tracker. You need to start thinking more strategically. Why is this delay? What is the impact? What is the dependency? What decision is required? What should we do now to protect the next time milestone? Right? So that shift in thinking is very important. You should also become better at handling a risk issue and changes. You should communicate more effectively with the stakeholder at different level. Your conversion with a developer may be different from your conversion with your business process owner. Okay, so the workshop also help you to understand how to lead a cross-functional team, because in SAP you are rarely managing one isolated team. You may have functional team, development, testing, integration, basic, all the team. So the project manager has to connect all of them. And now, what impact should all of this create? Right? Ideally, stronger project management should help the project improve delivery discipline, like better planning, better risk management, better governance, better transparency, right? So, of course, no workshop can guarantee that every project will always finish exactly on time and exactly within budget. But real project have many variable. But what we can help you improve is how you manage those variable, and that is the real objective. After the workshop, you should be more prepared to start an SAP project with clarity. You should be able to apply SAP Activate more practically. You should understand how the managed scope risk, all those things. Okay. So here I like to summarize this three line. Knowledge is power, application create impact, and leadership create lasting value. Right. So the workshop is not the end of your learning. It should actually become the beginning of a stronger SAP project management journey. A good project manager can help complete a project, but a but a